guy alone inside. He's got the breakaway with the touch to the right. Goal! Everything you wanted from this debut. It's Brandon By. Taking a shot with the left. Goal! Isaac Frank from 25 yards out. The equalizer. Will Kidd with the touch of the goal. It's a go-ahead goal. Minneapolis City.
This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
It feels like some cows have been ripping bong hits all night up in here because the stakes have never been higher. Welcome to the People's Pitch, the one, only, and official podcast of Minneapolis City SC. I am your host, Nate, and I am joined by the thorny to my farva, John Bisworm. John, how are you holding it together this week?
Lots of Summit now.
Lots of Summits.
Oh, man. Squeaky bum time. It is win or go home time, and it's all icing on the cake, man. We accomplished 3 out of 3 goals we had this year as an organization, and we're pushing for the extra added bonus goals now.
I hear you, man. Just like our crows, this show is laser focused tonight as we drill down into the only thing that matters moving forward, and that is the postseason. Tonight, the mailbag is back. Spoiler alert, it's going to have a playoff focus, and it is deja vu all over again as we prep for our 3rd game of the year against the team that just will not die, Duluth FC. And once again, we have the master of Midwestern soccer in the house. He is a great soccer mind. Fletcher Sharpe joins us to give us his take on City versus Duluth, as well as the other side of the bracket in the Final Four. Plus, we're going to discuss who could be up next if the stars align and we move on. John, this is uncharted territory for City. Get out your compass and your sextant. Let's navigate through these dark waters.
Let's do it.
Last week we totally shit the bed and forgot to cover some playoff related mail that we received. But hey, better late than never, right? We still got time to do this. So we will pretend that this week is last week, as the topics align really well with the show. And listener Bryn writes, what are your thoughts on the fact that the regional final is the day after the regional semifinal? Necessary evil or something the league needs to find a way to change? I understand the season is short and needs to finish up before mid-August, but I am worried that with the heat this summer and potential for overtime, you could get players being just gassed for the final.
All right, so I'll take this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, to put it simply, you may agree or disagree with things that are done at NPSL headquarters, inside or outside of our organization, but the playoff schedule is one that I think needs some serious attention. I mean, look, I understand that, as Bryn noted, things have to be completed by August because majority of the players in this league need to go back to school. But I believe a blind eye has been kind of cast towards the fact that other members of teams in this league are people who have day jobs. So let's put aside that in this year's case, the number 1 seed, us, is not hosting the regional playoffs, and that 2 teams from Minnesota have to travel 10 plus hours to Michigan to play each other. But the ask to have players take off of their job, in some cases up to 6 working days, is a really hard thing to do. I mean, it's hard enough to insert just general league travel into your real life if you have a job. But at the end of the summer, you might have to be taking off what is likely, 6+ days for the playoffs in your PTO or sick time, but on top of that, you also have to think about just the general travel that might have to require you to take a day off. So on top of that, most of these guys are recent graduates that have just started a job in general, and they necessarily don't have the time to take off of work. And on top of that, the back-to-back game days is hard for anyone, regardless of travel. I mean, it's even hard for youth players to play in that. So to give your very best in a knockout scenario is hard enough, but to ask this level of player to do so is a recipe for a few things, Nate. 1 is sloppy play, and 2 is the potential for injury. And I get that it's hard for a league to fit everything in, but there has to be something that can be done to lessen the burden on the players because they're the product, right?
Yep.
Like no one comes to these games to see the league front office operate. They come to see the players on the field. And then I get it. It's not an easy job for the league to do, but it's one that has to be reviewed and, maximize the beauty of what is playoff sports.
Yeah. So I agree, I think, but really in most cases, what's happening with us might be the best option for teams in other parts of the country. Like if you're a West Region finalist like FCM Portland or a South Region finalist like Little Rock, wouldn't you rather travel just once for a weekend to San Francisco or to Miami? Because then I really have to worry about dealing with the costs and planning involved with travel for maybe one weekend if you get to buy like we do, instead of 2 or 3. Like that's a lot to commit to. Like you said, that could be an additional, 2, 4, 6 days that you have to take off in order to get there. So this is exactly where the league stays on brand. This is where NPSL stays on brand. We are the only region whose playoffs are structured this way, and we might be the only region whose playoffs might not make sense to be structured this way. So yes, a review is definitely needed. But I had a thought, John. Could we travel with, knowing that you roster 18 men a game, could we travel with our entire team, like everyone that we have rostered, and only and have 18 different guys for the 18 guys for the first game and 18 guys a different makeup for the second game?
Yes, you absolutely could, but is it your best team?
Probably not, and it's probably a little extra expense, extra vans, extra buses.
Right, it's more money. So it all goes back to being behind the 8 ball, however you slice it. And I don't have an answer for it, and I don't necessarily put it all on the league, but it's just something that has to be looked at. I mean, like you said, we're the only conference or region that has to deal with this. So if we're the only one, then what's happening in the other regions that could be adopted to make this change? So the second question that our listener Brent had was, to follow up that question, is it worth noting that the Midwest region and East Conference and Great Lakes Conference only have 7 teams, while the North has 8 teams, meaning the teams in the North have to play 14 games, while the others only have to play 12? I feel it's pretty safe to say Minneapolis City felt the consequences of fixture congestion this season. Yeah, no shit. Given that Eris has been historically bad, is it possible to ban them from the North Conference if enough of the team's owners vote in favor? That way, every team in the region would have an equal number of regular season games. City would lose a chance to host a game/sell tickets, which would probably hurt the club financials. It might be worth it if it could help out the space of the schedule a little bit more. I don't know. I could be I don't know, banning a team that is pretty drastic, and it's not like the other regions have an equal number of teams in each conference. Anyways, thoughts, Nate?
Yeah, I think that is pretty drastic to ban a team. While it does suck to add 2 games to the schedule, in the most immediate sense, it all evens out. Everyone in the North has to play 14 games, right? Everyone has to build their team to deal with that fatigue, and if you don't, you don't. I just don't think the NPSL would dump a dues-paying team just to make it even in a league where the realities of geography mean that some conferences' teams are more concentrated than others. And so because of the sheer volumes of team nearby, like in the Northeast, you might have 11 in your division and you only get to play each other once. Or, way in the Northwest, you have 5 in your division and you have to play each other 3 times. Parity is not a concern for the NPSL, clearly, as we've seen. So, I think it is what it is, and we're just going to have to deal with it for the foreseeable future.
Sure.
But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't have an answer. I mean, like you said, you can't kick out a dues-paying member, and regardless of how they perform. And I mean, they took points off of us, or a point off of us, and we won the division undefeated. So it's not like they're completely laying over and getting their belly scratched. They're trying to fight. They just might not have the means to. And I look at then at the ownership group of that team. Like, are you doing everything required or within your ability to be competitive. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know.
I think if the philosophy and the business model of the NPSL is any indicator, their answer to maybe too many games over the summer would be to add teams to our region and split us up even more. But
Well, think about it this way. Instead of having 2 teams qualify for within each division, or sometimes even 4, and have a playoff, what if just the winner of of each individual conference then made the playoffs? And then you look at geographically how that works out. And then you seed it based off of like the winning, the highest seed plays the lowest seed. I know then travel costs come into consideration, but that's when the league would have to step in and provide some subsidy, or even U.S. Soccer, God forbid they ever come down this level, and provide some financial assistance to teams to be able to make this a better thing. Like I said, I don't know if there's necessarily a general fix, but something has to be looked at, and I challenge the league to look at something in the ownership meeting at the end of the year.
yeah. And finally, who wins player of the season for City in your opinion? If Bryn had to choose, he would say Will Kidd. Any chance we can dive into the archives and see what we said about players to watch for the season? It might be fun to hear now that the regular season is over. That's a good idea.
So great question, Bryn. But unfortunately, that's a topic for a different day. We will be diving into a full review of the season, including honors, which once we're all done and dusted. So you're gonna have to wait and hibernate on that for a few weeks. So sorry about that, Bryn. All right. So there's a game tomorrow, Nate.
Yeah, I heard.
I don't know if you heard. So the boys currently are on their way and off on their 10-hour trip to Ann Arbor as the number 1 seed in the NPSL Midwest regional playoffs. You might think that comes with a lot of rewards and fruits for their #undefeated labor this past conference season, but you would then be wrong, ma'am or sir. In typical fashion, soccer has not smiled upon us, given that we were that number 1 seed and are not only not hosting a playoff round, we have a Friday match 10 hours away at 3 p.m. Central. And if we win that game, we have to then turn around and do it all over again with just a chance, a glimmer in the eye to play in the final against probably an even better team, or a team that maybe is on an even better playoff type hot streak, just for the chance to lift a trophy and get into the Final Four in the country. So, with all that said, Friday, July 20th, we are pitted against our conference rivals, Duluth FC. And if you wanted another reason for no love lost between both of these teams, toss in the fact that we beat them handily a few weeks back to win the conference. And then on top of that fire, it would be the fact that they just probably don't like us and want to beat us. So,
yeah, John, you don't get a lot of opportunities in this league to play a new, unfamiliar team. So it's a little bit of a letdown for me personally to have to square off against Duluth again. Yeah, and then you add into that every time that we play this team, it's like it feels like we're walking a tightrope between victory and disappointment, and it's always a game that I have mixed emotions about. This one in particular, I'm pretty bummed about. I wish we would have been playing someone a little fresher. That way, if we lost, it'd be like, we just didn't know about that team. It was cool to see our guys play someone different. We gave it our all. Instead, we're playing Duluth, and if we win, it's going to be amazing, and it's going to continue our trend, our upward trend. But if we lose, it's like, God damn it, like we had to lose to those fucking guys.
Right, I know. So fresh off their dramatic home win in penalties in the first round of the playoffs versus a very good Grand Rapids side, a rebuilt side, as we'll find out a little bit later when we talk to our guest today. Duluth, in typical Duluth fashion, scored both early and late goals, and then also conceded at the death to force overtime, not only to then sub out their goalkeeper, who kept them in that match, for a goalkeeper that apparently is good at penalties, because it paid off as he saved 2 spot kicks to help them advance into the regional
That's
final
crazy.
four.
That is so nuts.
I know. It's non-league soccer at its finest. It's some FIFA. That's some FIFA shit right there.
That's ballsy.
So what can we expect from Duluth. I find it real hard to believe that over in Duluth, it was the same old at training this past week. There had to have been an added level of intensity and incentive given who we are and what has historically been involved on and off the pitch between the two sides. And as noted, what went down just a few weeks ago. But on the flip side, those same topics were not left out of the minds of our boys and the City household as they were hard to work prepping for this match, Nate.
Yeah.
So, Duluth has made a major shift in their deployment of both personnel and style in the past 2 months. And we've talked about it almost ad nauseum when we've gone up against these guys. But gone is that dump and pray model that we had seen over the past few years, and inserted is more of an organized side that focuses on the attempt, and I highlight attempt, to put the ball down and play. In the 4-2 loss in Osseo, it was an exciting match, honestly, that saw both teams focused on playing good soccer. Expect them to run out this new similar type 4-2-3-1 formation that relies heavily on possession, but still falls back, I think, on that old crutch of the long ball to the wings, to the up top to the talisman Kyle Farrar. Where things fall apart for them, however, is when they play too conservatively in this new formation and do not attempt to get guys forward to support longer service, either up top or diagonally on the wing play. Also, they have shown that in this willingness to put the ball down and play, we've seen that some of their backline is comfortable on the ball with at their feet, while others look totally out to sea and want nothing to do with it, which is an area where we could kind of capitalize on. Next, can they strike during the normal run of play and not kind of wait for the dramatics at the end of each half? They have shown that they come out of the gates in the second half of games a lot hotter than they've done in the first half. Versus us, we've already seen that twice, where they scored both in the beginning of the second half at home to tie the game, which eventually was a 1-1, and to grab a goal back 2-1 at home. But in a playoff scenario, it's not the best. It's not really the best to rely on that type of tactic. We have shown that we can score. We can outscore some of the best teams, but can they win in a goal fest, Nate?
Yeah, great question. I'll have to take a look at the stats, but I'm not sure that they've scored a ton of goals against teams not named Lacrosse Heiress.
Right. So lastly, how will they travel? Rumors have swirled that they've lost a few players. Some guys have quit, some guys have left or gone back home to school or what have you. But these players, from what I've heard, have been some key players. We haven't seen Sean Morgan in a while. Sean Morgan's a good soccer player. Are there others that aren't going to be able to travel? But you better believe, as noted earlier, they will pull out all the stops because it's versus us. Let's hope it's more of the well-played fight that they provided in our 4-2 win against them that was on display in our last match, and not the garbage donkey ball that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, last time they seemed to have game planned against the team that we brought to Duluth, and it hurt them. You have to expect that they're going to learn from their mistakes and make adjustments to match up to the team that they saw only a few weeks ago in Osseo.
Right.
But will that still be the same team dynamic, or will we have adjusted it again? We shall see.
Oh, yes, we shall.
John, you have been close to perfect on your keys to victory. Whether or not we pull out the victory, at least you knew that they were keys. The keys were there in the glove compartment somewhere. And there have been a lot of victories this year. What can City do to get into the final on Saturday?
Well, I'm so glad.
What can City do on Friday to get into the final taking place Saturday?
Right.
Yeah.
And we could talk for 5 hours about what we could do if we win on Friday and play on Saturday, but we'll focus on Friday.
Yeah.
So, number 1, score goals. We've done it all year. It sounds super simple, but with all the focus on the travel and the high pressure type playoff environment, the chances still will come, but they're just that much more important. You have tired legs. You have You know, you have not necessarily tired from playing too much, even though it's the end of the season. But you have tired from the travel. You have all these different factors that could mentally and physically that could come up. So when the chances come, gotta bury them. Number 2, defend and attack as a unit. I really feel that in this game, the first team to not just make a general mistake, but one that makes a mistake in the wrong spot on the field and are not organized enough to recover from that mistake is going to be the total decider. If it's a lazy pass or a 1v1 battle that's lost or a long ball that's not tracked well, it could put us in early hole if it's us who does that. And it could force teams to come back on us if we're the ones that are pushing the front foot. And finally, have focused fun. What is that? I'm so glad you asked, Nate.
Yeah.
This is what focused fun means. This point in the season, the playoffs are equal parts a reward for your efforts, as well as a showcase of talent to the national audience. And again, equal parts in a third, a chance to end the season and crown to be the best team in your league. What we need to do is remember that, sure, this is really a high-pressure situation, but if we focus just on that, if we play stiff, people will not make just mistakes. They'll make crucial mistakes because they're trying too hard. So instead, what we need to do is enjoy this stage and have fun. Elevate yourself individually in a relaxed fashion and just play your game.
Yeah, I think that last point that you made is really quite amazing to me. I really hope.
Well, thank you, Nate. I love to amaze you.
It sounds very. It's funny every once in a while. I read you wrong, and I wouldn't have expected you to say something like this. But I really do hope the guys are.
Well, hold on. Why would you say that?
Well, this is coming from a place of experience for you, and I should have known this. But like, for you to just come out and say, you know what, it's okay to have fun, and let's like take advantage of this opportunity, and just like take just being there as a reward, doesn't feel like the competitive John Bisworm that I know and love.
Well, I'll follow that up. When we conceived City 4 years ago, and then started 3 years ago, our goal was to compete. And then on paper, our goal, we looked at our players, and our goal was then to win the division. And then now we've done all that, but it took us 3 years to accomplish goals that we had in 2. And now you're looking at a playoff scenario in our third year in the league. It's like we mentioned, it's uncharted territory for us. So for me, being an analytical mind, I think that this is all cherry on the sundae because we accomplished our goals this year, and it took us 3 years to accomplish those goals, like I mentioned. Now we go to this national stage via the regional playoffs, and we've outkicked our coverage in what we thought, being the nation's leading goal scoring team. Who the fuck would have ever thought that?
After last year, especially, yeah.
After last year's team, right? So we've already advanced so much further on what our goals were, and we accomplished all of them this season. So my expectations then, to your point is, yeah, I'm competitive John Bisworm, but I understand where we're at right now. We haven't been in this world before. We're going to have to see what happens. I hope the best happens, obviously, right? I don't wish that we lose at all. I think we can win the region, but if we don't, we take what happened, and then that becomes our goal next year, and we build towards that.
Yeah, man. So I like that. Let's just keep it loose. I love that treating this as equal part, like you said, a reward for this season and also a showcase. And I really hope that those guys are excited to show the country what all the fuss up here in Minneapolis is about and keep making a name for themselves, because some of them truly have made a name for themselves on the national stage, and it can only hope to elevate their game and continue to build Minneapolis City as a pathway to pro. So if you haven't left by now, you're probably not going to make it to the match, but you,
yeah, no, I mean, maybe you might make it to the match. That's not warm-ups.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're any of the players from City who weren't on the buses to go down there, you're not playing, dude.
Yeah, I think by the time this thing comes
maybe.
out in the morning, no way in hell. If you can duck out of work early, though, the game will be on at 4 p.m. Eastern. It will be streamed 3 p.m. Central. The match details can, of course, be found on all city social channels. And if you're interested in watching the match with fellow members of the Murder,
I might be down there.
Yeah,
I might be down there.
Pop
You're gonna
on
be down
over.
there. So,
I'm gonna be down there.
yeah,
Pop on over to New Bohemia on Lake Street in Uptown, where the match will be streamed live. It's like right next door to the Bryant Lake Bowl. If you're familiar with that area, Lake in Lindale. I strongly urge you to come down and take part in what it truly is Minneapolis City history.
Right. Come down and buy me a beer. It'll be great.
Thanks for all you've done.
Yeah. Thanks, John. You made this all possible.
Mm-hmm.
Here is the finest Pilsner that you can have in a hot summer day.
This coming weekend isn't just about City versus Duluth. It is the Midwest Conference Final Four. So like we said, we are bringing in a regional expert to help us break down all the action that's going to be happening in Ann Arbor this weekend and any potential future city matchups. We are pleased to welcome back Fletcher Sharpe, a Michigan journalist who is an expert in lower division soccer, especially the goings-on in the Great Lakes Conference of the NPSL Midwest. He has featured on soccer publications all over the web, as well as in the spoken word form in the soccer podcast planet that is out there, the soccer podcast universe. It's the second time on the show. We're happy to welcome you back. Fletcher, thank you so much for joining us again. Before we ask you how you've been, we do have to thank you because we are currently undefeated since we last had you on. We really appreciate all that mojo you provided the team.
I feel like there are a lot of things you could attribute your success to besides talking to me. Typically, people talk to me and they get worse, so I guess I'll take it, you know?
Well, hey, first time for everything. Otherwise, everything you touch turns to shit.
Essentially, yes.
We've talked about it before on our show. You can't win them all, or you can't lose them all, but you can certainly win them all.
That's, hey, I mean, a blind squirrel finds a nut eventually, right?
Right, exactly. It might take 3 years to find it, but eventually you do. So, kind of to dive right in, so you covered the Midwest region, but really you kind of dig in on the state of Michigan. What have you seen from the soccer world in your neck of the woods this season?
Actually, I've seen a kind of a pickup in play, which is good. Not just including the NPSL, but also including the PDL. Give me 1 second. God bless. That was not supposed to come on.
The air conditioner.
I thought I turned it off, and aha. Okay, that was not the power button I hit. That was the delay button. All right.
So basically, it sounds like you're in a server room.
Yeah. No. Oh. Okay. Where was I?
Nate, are you still recording?
Yeah, man. We're keeping that blooper. You said the
Oh my God.
quality of play across Michigan, the PDL, not only
PDL, NPSL, UPSL. It's gotten better, save for like Arbor FC, which is a new team. They're terrible. Like FC Minneapolis, terrible. So like ignore them entirely. Don't know. Everyone else has gotten better though. Teams like Kalamazoo and the NPSL probably will never make the playoffs, but overall as a unit, they've pushed teams to get better. Grand Rapids has recovered from last year's horrible Barone-led coup that led to them dropping out of the playoffs. Lansing United left the NPSL, went to the PDL. I expected them to be terrible. Most people did. They lost a few of their better players. They got Michigan State's best players. Michigan State, one of the better collegiate teams in the most recent years, and they're currently in the PDL over the Michigan Bucks, who are one of the best semi-professional teams in the history of soccer. Not just PDL, just overall. They hold the record for the most professional teams beaten in the U.S. Open Cup. I think it's like 3 or 4. Most MLS teams beaten is 3 or 4. I think professional, it's like in the teens. So, like, they've gotten better, and I'm happy to see that. Detroit City FC, as everyone knows, had a bit of a down year, but they continue to push. Maybe not on the field as much, but off the field in terms of what they do to revolutionize the game in terms of, small league soccer. Typically, you see a small league team maybe get one professional team. Detroit City's had 3, and they're going to have a 4th in like 2 weeks. So it's amazing to see and happy for them. But we're going to focus on the number 1 seed, AFC and Arbor. They're 3 years in the NPSL, 3 years in the playoffs. There's really nothing more you can say from that. That's very good. And every year that they've been in the playoffs, first year they got knocked out in the regional semifinal. Next year they got knocked out in the regional final. So they're building.
Yeah, they're going farther and farther every year. Hopefully we can stop that trend this year.
So you kind of mentioned Detroit. So, last year we saw Detroit from a playoff perspective kind of have the deepest run out of the teams in your area. But, you also mentioned too that, it's wildly speculated that when you take the pageantry and the fanfare out of the equation, Ann Arbor really is just playing the best soccer in the area over the past few seasons. Would that be correct?
Yeah, and I know there will be people that want to say, no, that's not the case at all, but Detroit took Ann Arbor's best center back last year in Jimmy Fiskus, who played for Michigan State, by way of just their coach being a Michigan State grad and knowing all the Michigan State players. They took Ann Arbor's best center back, and Ann Arbor's defense got better. So, Ann Arbor is tied for fewest goals allowed in the entire nation with 4. So if you take my best defensive player and my number 1 goalkeeper goes away on honeymoon, comes back and gets injured, and I put in a second goalie who then gets hurt and put in a third goalie, and we get better as a unit, we're just a better team. That's the end of. There's no debate there. And I feel like anyone who wants to try to say, well, what about this and this, is just looking for something to say because they don't want to accept the loss, which is fine because people don't accept losing well sometimes, but you gotta accept it eventually.
Sure. So if we kind of can continue on that theme, what's the sentiment out in your neck of the woods? Do people use the shadow of Detroit to kind of quietly operate, or do they operate within that shadow and just play good soccer, or is there kind of a love-hate relationship with Detroit in that area?
It depends. Some fan bases don't care. I'm not going to put their name up like that because people trust me to say stuff, and I feel like a good journalist, when people give you anonymous sources, you don't reveal the sources because then people don't give you anonymous sources, and then you end up not having anyone talk to you, and then you're a terrible journalist. You go out of business. You have no money. People laugh at you, and I don't want to be that, So, but you ask certain fan groups, certain fans, certain people affiliated with certain clubs, and they're kind of like, whatever, we'll just do what we need to do. You ask certain clubs, and they're like, hey, they're out there being dicks just to be dicks for the sake of being dicks, and they're losing, so I don't really see what the point of it is. Recently, there was an article written by John Neo, who writes for the Detroit Free Press, talking about how Detroit City FC is kind of plateaued to a degree, where they don't know what to do the next step is because they have all this success off the field, they have all these fans showing to their games and everything, and a lot of the fan groups are like, they need to win. That's what you need to do. If you want to move to the next level, you probably should have a championship in the league you're currently in. You probably should not leave it without a championship, or at least a chance to play for the championship. So, I'm kind of in the middle. I do agree that they've done a lot of great things off the field. They've interwoven into the community, probably top 5 in the country. The community in that whole Hamtramck area loves Detroit City. When it's a game day, they come out, they march with the fans, they pack the stadium, they wear Detroit's colors unless they're playing against a team, like Necaxa. They had, they're going to have Frosinone. They had
St. Pauli.
St. Pauli. So when it's like teams like that, yeah, of course you might come in your gear for those teams rather than, Detroit City, but they still come out and support. So they're doing great there. But my thing is, that's great and all, but like you gotta win. You need W's. You have no W's, you need to stay where you are. Because if you leave, like after like finishing third, fourth, fifth in your team, in your division, with the players you have, and you expect to go pro and do stuff with players like that, you'll get a rude awakening and you'll be losing a lot more money. So like maybe, I don't know. My opinion is just to stay where they are for right now, but people don't listen to me anyways. So
So let's talk NPSL playoffs for a little bit, and we'll start with the game that people around here might not be too familiar with. So I want to get your thoughts on Cleveland versus Ann Arbor. John and I talked a little bit last week about Ann Arbor, and you just mentioned it too. They've got that extra stingy defense, 4 goals allowed all season. And they go up against the East's Cleveland FC, who have one of the region's most dangerous goal scorers in Vinny Bell. He had 8 regular season goals, including 2 hat tricks, and then he just hung a hat trick on Erie in their first postseason game.
that guy's been around forever.
Who's going to give ground in this scenario?
So there's a little bit of history here. One, Vinny Bell's, like, back when, I feel weird, I have to mention this because it's a thing and I've made it a thing, and I feel weird whenever people call Cleveland SC an expansion team, because technically they are, but like 80% of their team was AFC Cleveland last year. Mm-hmm. Only difference is they have new owners who like are not whiny little children. That's the main difference. They're not purple anymore, and they have new owners who are like, hey, I get it that we have to pay money on time. I understand that facet. We'll pay money on time. Not like we're not going to pay because you did something here. So, whatever. But Vinny Bell, as long as I've been around covering the NPSL, Vinny Bell has always been there. And he's always been there in the same exact, like I sent out a tweet to Minneapolis City, I sent out a tweet to AFC Ann Arbor, and I'm like, look, whoever plays Cleveland, just don't leave him open in the box. Because if you leave him open in the box, he's going to find a way to put a ball in the net. It's his formula for the past 6 years. Leave him open, ball touches him, ball goes in net. And it's simple, like just mark him. But people always seem to lose him at really clutch moments. AFC Ann Arbor, their first run into the playoffs was ended by AFC Cleveland by way of Vinny Bell. So I would like to think that AFC Ann Arbor will, fix it this time.
They've learned from their mistakes.
At the same time, I just don't doubt Vinny Bell ever, or their midfield, which is made up of a lot of really talented people. Most of their last names I can't really pronounce and haven't been able to for some time. But like they're a unit that knows each other well. They're not one of those teams who just assembled like, oh, they came together at the beginning of the season. Like they all go and hang out during, the off season. They all go and hang out and do a bunch of stuff. It's kind of like how Milwaukee Torrent is, where their players play indoor and also play outdoor together, except they're not bad. So
are you talking about these like Croatian sounding dudes like Admir Suljevic or Michael Derizic, Chris?
Yes.
What's this? Zveko? I don't know. That's hard. I can see they're hard to pronounce, man.
Yeah, they've been playing together for some time. Like they have rapport where I'm fairly certain they probably could throw a lot of no-look 40-yard passes to each other and hit each other on the dime.
Damn.
So like they're very. The thing they have is cohesiveness. The thing AFC Ann Arbor has, and I mean this not to demean Cleveland at all. I mean this like just AFC Ann Arbor is probably a more talented team. People like to say that Detroit's coach Ben Pierman for Detroit is the best coach in the region and the best motivator. I would say he's the second best, and I would expand it to the entire Midwest. In my opinion, the best motivator / game manager / recruiter in the entire Midwest is Eric Rudlin. You could take his entire 22 from this year, and he will find 22 equally or greater players to fill in. Perfect example. Detroit City FC took Jimmy Fiskus last year, so what did Eric Rudlin do? Eric Rudlin went out, found Jack Cawley, who was playing in, I think, 6th Division in English soccer. I call him the taxi man because over in England, he was actually driving a taxi while playing soccer, while also playing in the FA Cup. He then went out and got Joseph Stanley Okumu, who is my pick for the Great Lakes Player of the Year, which is weird for a center back who has no goals, no assists, no shots on goal. But Joseph Okumu, for some backstory, captained the Kenyan U23 team this last summer for 2 games against Uzbekistan to 2 wins. He is currently being scouted by a USL team that I'm not at liberty to say, and most likely will be picked up at the end of the season. Most likely will probably be playing for their MLS team sometime soon. He's a stud. The first time I saw him dribble a ball, I was like, I'm worried because he looks like he does not know what he's doing. 2 games later, against Detroit City, he made 1 diving head save on a shot that just, we're like, what are you doing? And in the 90th minute of the game, the City's going to come down and score. He makes a sliding, chest of a ball to tip it out for a corner, and it saved the game for them because they were broken at that point. And after the corner came in, they got the ball out and they won. Literally seconds later, won. He's a stud, and when he's not there, when he went away to go train, Ann Arbor's defense showed. Up until that point, they'd only given up 2 goals. When he left, they gave up 2 goals in 1 game to Grand Rapids in a loss. So
what's his strength defensively that makes him so good?
For someone his size, he's tall and lean. He's very fast, but he's also very strong. You're not gonna push him off the ball, and you're not gonna outrun him for a ball. So at best, you're gonna have to hope that you get by him, and you have possession of the ball either for a foul or he just makes a mistake. He's very. And being a forward, I really hate giving defenders props at all. You just got lucky, you got a foot in the way, you're really garbage. I don't care, don't talk to me. No, I'm not a fan of any team in Michigan because I can't be a fan of a team in Michigan. But I like players, and he's one of my favorite players to watch. Just because when he goes in there, and he's so nice, he's most unassuming person ever. But when it comes game time, it's you don't get the ball. It's not your ball anymore. It's his ball.
What's the offensive danger of Ann Arbor?
Ann Arbor is led by Yuri Farkas, who, along with Matt Bream and former AFC Ann Arbor player Hector Morales, played in the CONIFA World Cup. I don't know if you know what the CONIFA World Cup is.
No.
It's basically the non-league World Cup where they take some small federations and they played over in England this time for the CONIFA World Cup between nations. So U.S. was represented for the first time by the Concordia, by the Cascadia region of northwest U.S. and Canada. There were a few small African nations within England playing. There was one Punjabi nation represented. So if you get picked, typically it's pretty decent honors. The U.S. team had a former Seattle Sounder, Justin somebody. I can't think of his name, but he looks like John Legend. That's all I can tell you. But Yuri Farkas he's more of a 10 than he's a 9. He's kind of a deep receiving of the ball. He's very good with his feet on the ball. He'll probably hit you with a few step-overs before he goes by you. They're also led on the wings by Azad Aziliadi, who he's very fast. Insanely fast on the ball. Might not get a lot behind the shot sometimes, but normally he gets in front of the net to take great shots. They also have Jordan Montoya, who is a kind of like a wing forward / center mid, who is a starlet out of the League Ontario soccer league over there. 19-year-old, really, really talented player. Who else? They also have Mark Ibarra, who plays for University of Michigan. Really great. I guess it's a 6. Defensive mid's a 6. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really great 6 for them. He can come forward. He's got 3 goals in the season, all of them from very deep. But no, he's a pretty good stopper of the ball. Overall, like, AFC and Arbor is a very solid team. Like, yeah. There's anyone can score a goal and you up top, which is great. In the past years, they've been carried by Dario Suarez, who also is currently playing for Miami FC 2 in the playoffs in the South.
Yeah.
But normally he led them in goals scored, and it was, like, not close. It's like, Mark Dario, don't worry about anybody else. And when he left, the big worry for AFC and Arbor was, who's going to score for us now? And their scoring load has been spread out to where, like, anyone can score for them. So that's kind of it's kind of a double-edged sword, because you worry about when it gets crunch time who's going to take over, but also they don't know who's going to take over.
Yeah.
So it's a weird, thing.
So basically, that's a very great kind of segue into our next topic, in the fact that you can kind of spread around scoring. So let's roll into our match. We know who we are. Have you had a chance to watch us or to watch Duluth play this past year?
To watch you guys, yes. To watch Duluth this year, not that much, outside of the NPSL's, like, little YouTube TV show where they show highlights. And I'm going to just venture to say this, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Is it still pretty similar to last year?
Well, that's the thing, is that's what you'd think, right? Is they had a lot of success last year, but this year they have a new coach, and he's kind of reined in their on-field hooliganism. He's reined in their physical play. Yep, the donkey play is almost a thing of the past. And the new
thing, no more just hoofing it and just getting it.
Yeah, I mean the long ball is not there as much. We kind of talked about it over the last couple of weeks that we're almost baffled that they've abandoned their what made them so successful in exchange for something that made them at least a little more consistent.
I'm not, and the reason why I'm not is I can point directly to Dakota and tell you why, because they did not abandon theirs at all, and they look terrible. And honestly, when people saw Dakota warm up against Detroit, and everyone had read about Jay Johnson, still a really great talent up top.
Yeah.
Not gonna take that away from him. But everyone had read about him and like, oh, he scored how many goals? 18, 20 goals? That's amazing. Wow, he's a goal scorer. And then within the first minute of the game, they got a ball where they had a whole bunch of time to just work it up the field and just kicked it and said, go get it. And I was like, you know what? I have to watch 90 minutes of this. If I was not being paid to be here, I would just leave because I'm not doing this. I'm so sorry, I'm not. So when they got destroyed, I was like, okay, whatever. And then when Duluth came and did the same thing in the first 10 minutes, I'm like, I really don't want to be here for this. Albeit Duluth scored twice early, so it's like, uh-oh. They might actually, beat Detroit with a long ball, which I would chuckle about because no one as an adult should be beaten with a long ball that is coming over and over and over again, unless, something is wrong, Unless, the ref, the side judge is not helping you with the call, your defense is a step too slow. But if you're, a good 20 yards back and you see them just saying, hey, look at you in the center circle, we're just going to kick it and hope you got it, and you get beat, maybe you should retire. That's not good for you. That's
John,
very bad.
John, so what do you think the difference is this year for Duluth over last year, real quickly?
Oh, man, that's a loaded gun, dude.
Yeah.
Put it right to my head. I think that the main difference between last year's team and this year's team is the fact that they brought in more imported talent. So last year's team kind of had this brotherhood, which we talk about on our own squad, being that we're all from the area. And all from Minnesota, but they won on that, and it was part, I think, coaching responsibility, where last year's coach Kyle Backus has kind of let the inmates run the asylum, where this year Coach Pearson kind of tried to rein that in and try to impose his own style on the fact that he brought his own guys in, and there was, early on in the season you could see that there was constantly a love-hate relationship between the old guard and the new guard. And the old guard that they brought back were all quality players, but the new guard they brought in are also very good. So I think it finally took a while for them to kind of click.
From the midfielder.
What was that, man?
I'm sorry. Say it again.
Didn't they get a player from Dakota, that midfielder? Really good guy?
No, he went to VSLT.
Okay, all right. I know one of their midfielders left for someone and was helping them to be better. So
yeah. So
yeah,
go ahead, John.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead, Nate.
I was just gonna move us along. So if the stars align for us and we take care of things tomorrow against Duluth, Fletch, chances are that on the other side of the bracket, Ann Arbor is going to do the same. But like you said, there's some history there that might argue otherwise. But let's focus on that potential matchup. What intrigues you potentially about City Ann Arbor?
Offense versus defense. You have the league's best offense against the league's best defense. That's you got to see what's going to break.
Yep, I think that's an easy answer there. I think, and I'll say Cleveland gets the win. We know that they're a goal-scoring threat, but I think that Cleveland's stats are going to they're a bit inflated by what the heiress of their league, which is Greater Binghamton FC Thunder. And even though Ann Arbor is also treated to probably the worst team in the country in their league, FC Indiana, should Cleveland pull out a win, how do they match up against City?
They're going to be a bit more direct. Not to say AFC Ann Arbor is not a direct team, but AFC Ann Arbor has gotten by. There have been a few games where it's frustrated some fans, but I guess you could say to a degree they played a bit of negative football. I don't want to say that, but it's been called that. Like the 2 games against Detroit, they won it by a combined 2-0,
yeah.
And they maybe took 5 shots the entire game. The first game they won against Detroit, they won in the last minute. They won literally on a free kick that you see a goal happen and you're like, it's going to be a goal. I don't know how it's going to be a goal. It's going to be a goal. Their left back hit a little skip free kick, a little hop into it, and he hit it. And I'm like, that ball's going into the net somehow. I don't know how. And it skipped off a center back's head into the net. And that was their second shot of the game in the 92nd minute. So, coach was very happy to just absorb pressure and just counter from that. So I feel like Cleveland's going to be a bit more direct than that. I feel like they're going to try to get the ball towards the middle and get it up and then try to get it into the box, whether through the wing or whether through the air to Vinny. But I also feel like I don't want to down another team that just played and lost, Erie. But I feel like they weren't really tested in their division at all. Outside of Erie, that division was pretty whack. And I'm not just talking about Greater Binghamton, because, of course, everyone has Eris or FC Indiana, which are, while I looked at this, the NPSL Midwest had 4 or 5 of the top 10 teams in the division at one time, but they also had the three worst teams in the league by far.
Yeah.
And it was funny, but also not funny, because I don't know how you do that, and you're like, well, that's just it. And heck, actually, the last game that Ann Arbor played against FC Indiana showed up in the same colors as Ann Arbor.
What?
they just did not Ann Arbor wore their dark blue jerseys, and FC Indiana's we're gonna show up in our aways. It's all right, great, and then they showed up in some black and blue jersey. It's well, you can't wear that, but also you don't want to be here in the first place. We know you don't want to be here in the first place, so let's just play the game and get it over with. And they lost 9-0. So, I mean, of course, people's stats will be inflated a little bit. Heck, technically, Yuri Farkas would not be the leading scorer for AFC Ann Arbor were it not for those 5 goals he scored against them in 2 games.
Yep.
So, you take those away, and, I didn't do the numbers to see who it would be, but it would be someone else. But I
think it'd be Montoya.
Yeah, it would be Montoya. Actually, I don't even know, because he scored a few against them, too.
Yeah, fair.
So, but no, it's if Cleveland were to win, you'd expect more of a direct game, which I think would probably feed more into your hands, because you guys get up and down pretty quickly as well. So it might be a bit more exciting. But I feel like it'd be probably an easier win if you are able to contain their goal scores. Against Ann Arbor, I feel it'd be a little bit harder because I know for a fact Redlin is kind of like the way his team played this year, at least. I'm trying to think of a good metaphor that's like not too out there. It's like it's like a turtle where he won't give his underside. He won't give the underside unless they get flipped entirely. Like they only get scored on when like all 4 goals they've been scored on were like moments where they were totally just like assed out. Just we don't know what's happening and the ball gets into the net. The last goal I saw that they've been scored on this year was late in the game, and literally their goalie was not in the net. And they were chasing a player down trying to foul him multiple times, and he just broke through and tapped the ball in. And it's like, well, I don't know what happened, but like clearly something had to happen to just, an oh shit moment. So like I feel like
so Ann Arbor's a team that can really bunker down and take advantage of the mistakes of other team and squeak out a 1-0 win or a 2-0 win rather than try to outshoot someone and come out to like a 4-2 victory.
I mean, yes, they can come out to a 4-2 victory. They have not done so this year. Right. They've chosen at best to like make the sideways pass a few times before they go forward, just because 1-0 is a lot safer than 2-1.
Yeah.
So, if you had to say, what's the number one weakness that Ann Arbor does have that could be exploited against a team that they're not used to facing multiple times in their division, if it were to be us or Duluth that goes through?
Frustration. So, Michigan has a thing called the Michigan Milk Cup, which I don't know if you heard. Basically, the Milk Means More campaign started a tournament between teams in Michigan, save for the Bucks and DCFC, and AFC and Arbor cruised through it for the most part. They lost in the championship to Lansing United in like maybe the most nuts game I've ever watched in my life. Brief recap of it. One player gets a red for sliding stomp. 2 players get yellows for the result afterwards. Lansing plays down a player for 60-odd minutes, up 2-0. AFC Arbor forces a penalty kick in like the 87th minute. Literally right after they score, Lansing comes down and forces another penalty kick for themselves. The player for them scores the penalty kick, runs into the crowd to celebrate, but he also already had a yellow card, so he's kicked off, so it's an 11 on 9. So literally after that, they go back down, and Arbor forces another penalty kick, and now it's 3-2 all of a sudden, like the 93rd minute, and everyone's trying to fight each other on the field. So, had it been last year's Lansing team, I feel like Ann Arbor would have known better what to do, but because Lansing went to the PDL and got an almost entirely new roster altogether, they did not know how to play against this team. And as a result, the 2 games they played against people they don't really know, which were against PDL teams, Lansing United and Ocean City Nor'easters in the U.S. Open Cup, they looked frustrated. And when they get frustrated offensively, their defense gets frustrated and gets pulled out of position. When they get pulled out of position, that's it for them. They struggle against speed. DeJuan Jones, who plays for Lansing United, probably will be a professional player next year. He's really fast and really strong. So he gave them fits. Okuma did not play that game because he was training. But Jack Collins is a really great and serviceable center back. However, if he has to make a lot of great plays to overcompensate for the other center back or other whoever, there's a big hole in the middle of the field left open. So if someone's running full speed down to pull them out of position and they lay a ball back over to the middle, it's probably going to go into the net because the center back who's supposed to be there probably will not be there.
Well, the good news is there's a lot of speed on this City team, man. Let's hope that you continue to bring City some luck, Fletch, all weekend long as you are in the booth calling the game for us. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, it's gonna get a little nuts.
Yeah, man. So we'll be watching you. We'll be watching you on the feed. Remember, for any fans out there that want to watch, The kickoff is at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Thank you so much to Fletcher Sharpe. You can find him on Twitter at SaintFTW. You can also find his writing on Midfield Press and on the NPSL website. Fletch, thanks again. Always great to have you, man, and we look forward to hearing from you tomorrow, hopefully for a city win.
Yeah, and hopefully then after that for the Saturday following.
Oh, you'll be doing that too?
If you guys win, I'll be coming on to talk about you guys in the championship.
All right, bring us luck.
Awesome, sounds good, dude. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, so that is all for this week's show, folks. Thank you, as always, to Fletcher for joining us, but our sponsor, Summit Brewing Company. Before the summer gets too far away from us, be sure to check out a fantastic new brew our friends cooked up, the Lazy Sipper, not to be confused with Lady Slipper or Lazy Stripper. This summer ale is just right for the summer and has just right of a hint of strawberries. It is fantastic. It is not a fruity beer, but it has a fruity hint. Give it a try, and you won't want to drink another beer again, maybe. Summit, a more meaningful brew since 1986. If giving back to the community means a lot to you, maybe it's time to give to the club that loves to give back. Minneapolis City is a 501c3 that provides a safe, reliable, and fun environment for young people to play the beautiful game. Look for us this summer playing with kids in parks and community centers and pretty much everything under the sun as far as soccer is concerned. Consider making a tax-deductible donation to a truly city-focused organization. Send us mail. Bryn's done it all season. Everyone else can suck it. You have to step up your game.
Double middle fingers to everyone else.
Right, exactly. Bryn gets our mailbag supporter of the year award. But it's easy, people. Hit us up on Twitter at The People's Pitch or through email at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. I'll say it again one more time so you get it, so you can send us mail, mcscpodcast@gmail.com. All questions, comments, concerns are welcome. And finally, as always, you can hit up the club at MPLS City SC. That is all for this week's show. Once again, we leave you with our house MC, the undefeated Miles Stockton Willis, a.k.a. Me Lays, with a new track for all of you called Loco. I am John. That is Nate. That was Fletcher. It is win and go home from now on, folks. So let's shower the boys with positive vibes and bring home another trophy this weekend. And hoof 'em all.
Hoof 'em all!
Got a lot of the ball lately, balling on them like a ball baron. Solo local pulling hair, crazy. Run the show like I ran errands. Soon start going ball, maybe. People staring whatever I'm wearing. Wanna make you a star, baby. Chromosomes are the perfect parent. She way more than alright. Bad bitch in her genotype. Damn right, I'm tryna pipe. Only ride if it settles right. So high that settle like goosebumps from the linen. Goosebumps cause she's sinning. Touch her ink, that's hidden. And drop the tape like I'm finished. I should live in Finland. Couple homies speak Finnish. Pen a drug, penicillin. My pocket pissing is filling. My inner drive at the ceiling. Despicable how I'm feeling. Millions like minions. Rap star / rap czar. Built a team support not far. They bring the whole PR. If only a sliver in my health bar. Underdog the way I come back. Overcast make them run laps. In the club raining cats and dogs. Where the fuck the umbrellas at? Shooting magic bullets, know I got the juice. Got a big head, need a wider noose. Can't feel my face, still it's kinda loose. Been the truth, not of the proof. Chain look like glitter glue. Other chain got a darker hue. Take a cruise, tip the whole crew. Whole fridge from Whole Foods. I'm rock hard, stoned offline. First time that she rock climb. Treat me like some rock candy. Now she wants a rock wine. Well worded with a slight slang. She the same cause her tongue rang. Throw shade when she sunbathed. 50 bands with my art hang. Just some G's and G events. She villas chillin', we just venting. Speaking French and hailing Frenchies. Trying to give the dream eventually, even if it takes a century. I don't wanna be a benchy. Decree to lead the gentry. People starving, truckers, Bentley, money, weed, greed, and envy. Pat down for the entry, each assembly. What? If they don't want us, then fuck it, they're lost. Team on my back, I still carry the cross. About what I like, care less about the cause. Writing with diamonds, I'm like Robert Frost. Life is a movie, the scene is just saw. You at the dentist, I'll leave you in awe. Tell you what it is, laid on the law. Flicking you off while I'm rolling the raw.